Yeah, I was readily accepted with name Shing. So, thank you, Simon, and I was very fortunate to have the opportunity, or have had the opportunity to fill Simon's shoes in 2007. The R&D strategy at that time continued to evolve, but was within the strategic framework that was all set in place since 2003, or even before, as Eve described. So the focus was on filling the 3 gaps and building the portfolio and strengthening the regional disease platforms. That's forward or backwards? That's forward, yeah. Here's the portfolio in 2007. For the short-term and the medium-term strategy, the priority was very clear. That is, we want to ensure that we are guided by data generated from the clinical study for go, no-go decision. So in other words, if something doesn't work, we want to know as fast as we can so we can terminate. And if something works, we want to know as fast as we can so we can advance it. Now, the other focus is to enrich the medium-term project portfolio. We want a portfolio that will endure the anticipated attrition because projects have to go through the test, and many of them will not be able to move forward. But we want to have a healthy portfolio and to allow us to continue with successful programs. And as I joined, I also asked the team for 3 things. We want to be cheap, I want to be fast, and we want to be good. So I think that actually has, in the 5-year tenure I was there, was clearly demonstrated by the team. Now, since 2007, there were 6 products made available through the advancement in the portfolio. I think with the exception, when you look back at the short-term portfolio, with the exception of imiquimod project, that was well executed. That was clearly, we got the clinical data that did not meet the predetermined criteria, was terminated. So it was a failed project, but beautifully executed, and that's exactly what we wanted. But we were very fortunate, all other 6 projects advanced, the near-term project advanced to finish line, and the outcome actually directly benefit the patient. And I will not go over all of them one by one, but nice to note that 2 of them were the malaria projects set forward, and that's what we call the mini portfolio with well-defined scope and a well-defined approach, and the other 3 are in the congenital plastic disease scope. Now, what I want to use the ASAQ as an example is the development of ASAQ fixed dose combination illustrates the strategy and the vision. It's registered in 2007, pre-qualified by WHO in 2008. It's now registered in 30 countries in sub-Saharan Africa and in Bangladesh, India, and Colombia. Right now is ambitious pharmacovigilance work going on with major partners, MMV and Sanofi. But I think very importantly, we need to note that it was generic from day 1. So DNDi chose not to file patent for the innovation of the fixed dose combination, and Sanofi agreed to be our partner. And this is what Tim talked about, 200 million. Last year, 70 million doses were distributed. And I think this really shows that it's possible to make accessible, adopted, quality, and affordable product. And that is really the vision of DNDi. So I want to use this particular project to highlight the vision. Now, going back to the portfolio, the 3 connectoplastic diseases, it was from discovery to all the way to making the product accessible to patients. And then had malaria projects as mini portfolio. And over the years in 2011 and 2012, as the malaria projects mature, there were 2, in response to the needs, there were 2 additional mini portfolios were established. One is filarial disease. Filarial disease is really focused on macrofilariasis that kills the adult worm for the elephantiasis and the river blindness. And the second mini portfolio is pediatric HIV, because that population is underserved. And I think this really reflects how DNDi's portfolio continued to evolve, and it's evolved in a way it really showed the agility, the flexibility, and our ability to apply this past successful experience to address the unmet needs for neglected patient population. Now, as the portfolio matured over the time, other than the near-term projects, we also had to develop a portfolio that will supply the pipeline with new chemical entities with the potential to provide much better, superior efficacy, tolerability drugs for the disease we're working on. And to highlight a few progresses, vaccinidazole was advanced. Now it's actually a recruiting patient for the phase 2/3 study. So it really came out of the pipeline, advanced forward. And E1224 for Chagas, that also completed the recent phase 2 study. I think it generated some very interesting data, but actually, when we started working on Chagas, it was a disease with no clinical definition of cure, and there was no good drug. And so when you have those combinations, it's almost paralyzed. And I think we finally broke the mold and was able to do prospective controlled trial, and we generated very interesting data out of that. And I think it really paved the way for future successes. Now, additional example, one of them is oxaborole compound, SCYX7156. This actually came out of collaboration with Synexus Anacor, and it's an internal program started from lead optimization. And of course, I want to acknowledge Jim Carroll, who actually introduced Anacor to DNDi, and one of the collaborators worked with us on many other projects as well. Now, VL2098 is a compound that was a collaborative effort with TB Alliance and another TPP, and I think it illustrates the multifaceted collaboration, whether with academic groups, with industry, and this example with PDP. So this is actually where a donor's money are getting multiple hits. So you donate money to support TB research, and you actually benefit from the outcome, benefit other diseases as well. Now, at that time, the portfolio continued to evolve, even though I have not acknowledged the individual collaborators. But as Simon pointed out, the beginning of the collaboration was almost exclusive collaboration with academic groups. And that collaboration between DNDi and the academic scientists continue to intensify, and I think the landscape in the 5 years, the major change, can be illustrated here. It's a dynamic change that at the time when I joined, industry involvement was minimal. And there was some skepticism, there was some reservation. And I think the landscape had changed, that as you can see, almost every project as an industrial partner, or the multiple industrial partners. Now, in the early phase, the level of enthusiasm has significantly increased. I think the portfolio evolution is reflected here in terms of the change in how DNDi was able to benefit from various collaborations from the scientific level, clinical research level, as well as industrial scale of research. Now, the changing landscape is not just within DNDi, but it's with the whole field, and I think it's illustrated best here in January 2012, a London declaration, which a coalition gathered together and pledged support of WHO 2020 Neglected Tropical Disease Roadmap. And I think this broad-based collaboration, that's DNDi, industry, DNDi with other PDPs, and DNDi with a broad global network of academic parasitologists, is really the foundation of why we can be cheap, fast, and good to benefit patients. Now, on that note, I'll pass to my brother, Graham.